How much investment?
So the golden visa requires, in most parts of the country, I believe it's a 500,000 euro investment, and
Gotcha. Yeah.
the D7 isn't anything. I
No,
know
okay.
because I've been researching, because we're going to be moving to Portugal in some amount of time forward.
Okay, great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, you guys, this is Teresa Barthol with eXp Realty and the leader of the mastermind on Fridays. And it looks like I am getting no response from my folks in Portugal here. I don't know quite what happened, other than she said yesterday she saw it and we don't have them today for some reason. So I think we'll have to go on to another option unless they pop in here fairly quickly. So thanks, Brett, for filling in with some questions. Irene, it sounds like you've done a lot of study on the Portugal option. Do you want to, what do you want to lead with some of the things you've been checking into, and we can take your expertise and bring it forward as a way to solve my problem here at the moment?
I guess so. First, I'm Irene Hammond with eXp. I am in Arizona. I specialize in the 55 plus throughout the greater Phoenix area. We have an immense quantity of 55 plus, just like Florida does. And so that's where I've been specializing for 15 to 18 years here in the Phoenix area. My husband and I, Rick, are looking to retire to Portugal within the next 2 years. So being the researcher that I am, I've already done a lot. And so one of the what I've found, if you love Europe and you want to have easy access to the rest of Europe, as well as everything that Portugal offers, it's also a very financially reasonable cost of living, that if other than your housing, a couple can live really comfortably with $2,000 a month. That includes eating out, your wine bill, your housekeeper, all of those elements added in, and it's still less than $2,000 a month. Most areas it comes to like $1,600, $1,700 a month. And so it's super, super reasonable cost of living. They do have a 5-year plan that allows you to get citizenship that I was mentioning, whether you do the like pay to play, which is the golden visa. It does have a fee on it, and I can't remember if it was 3,000 or 6,000. It might have been 6,000 per person. And the reason why I can't remember is I remember the 6,000 number, but I can't remember if that was per person or individually. So it's not, and then it's only about 400 for the D7 visa. The D7 visa allows you to reside in country and have access to all of the European, EU, and I can't remember what they call it, but there's another name for most of the EU countries. And the D7 allows you to do some work. There's also tax advantages for the first 10 years that you reside there, that the Portuguese government really wants. They want money, an influx of spending, because the average person working in Portugal only makes about 600 to 700 euros a month. So they're not making the income levels are really low there. And so getting people to come from all over the world, and people do, they come from the UK, they come from South Africa, they come from Australia, they literally come globally to Portugal. And the Portuguese government is really encouraging this, because if as retirees, if we go there, we spend money, we buy things, we eat at the restaurants, we go to the grocery stores, and so there's an influx of cash flow that comes to their businesses and their economy. And so In fact, I believe they've had the golden visa and the D7 program for about 10 years. And in the last 5 years, because it's 5 years in, and then you can apply for citizenship, they've had 500,000 people or 200,000 people apply for citizenship and get their citizenship in the last 5 years, with the program being on for about 10 years. So it's been a very successful program. The southern part of Portugal, the Algarve, is really beautiful beaches. Since I live in Arizona, it's what I'll call a similar climate. They don't have heavy winters. It's a little bit more desert. They get about, I read 10 inches of rain. And then the summers are not as hot as Arizona, which is a good thing. But you end up with a really mild winters and really comfortable summers. In fact, some of the houses don't even have heat or air conditioning because it's not deemed necessary. So what questions do people have for me?
Well, Irene, do you plan to purchase then, or do you plan to rent? And what would be the difference there in
rent is going to be more expensive in places like Lisbon, which is the capital, and then Porto, which is a larger city. Rental can be a little bit higher also in the Algarve because it's such a popular tourism location as well. And when I say a little bit more expensive, nothing like what we experience here in Scottsdale for rental rates. $1,000, you could have a really nice property that you rent on a monthly basis. I am planning, and we are planning to purchase, and we're planning to purchase something under 300,000 euros. And that could be a condo on the beach. That could be a house in the country. That could, there's so many options that you can get. You can actually find nice properties for 200,000 euros. And it just, what is the lifestyle that you're choosing as to what you end up with. And, there's some price variations through the center of the country. It's a lot less. If you're up in the mountains, it's a lot less. I mean, you could buy what they call a ruin for 20,000 euros. You have a roof over your head, but you've got a plot of land that you could do something with.
So have you, so in terms of moving back and forth, a lot of people, might not be interested in committing to an entire lifestyle there for, a year or 5 years. So are you planning to travel back and forth some, or are you just planning to go there and relocate and stay there?
We're probably going to relocate and stay there.
Okay.
My very healthy 86-year-old mother is coming with us. My husband's mother is not quite willing to make that move. We don't have kids, nieces, nephews. We don't have a big family. So after our mothers are no longer with us, there's just us. So we can do whatever we want and go wherever we want.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, thank you for sharing all that. You helped us out here immensely. And anybody else have questions for Irene or want to jump in and say anything about Portugal?
So some of my research also says, because I've been looking at Portugal as well, is the healthcare systems there are very good and very inexpensive. And part of that, my number was somewhere between $1,500 and $1,800, so very close to your $2,000, and that includes healthcare. So, the cost of living there and the thought of, leaving the US because of healthcare reasons and healthcare costs kind of went down drastically when looking at Portugal and some of the other countries that are out there. You know, yes, the US has good, you know, healthcare systems in some places, not so good in others. And that's the same thing around the world as well. I mean, you look at Ecuador and Panama and Dominican Republic and Costa Rica and some of the other locations that expats go to. It's the same situation. You have good healthcare in some areas and not so good in others. But Portugal, everything I've read, Portugal talks about very good healthcare system. And that's important as we get older, and just something, and it's the price of the insurance was very reasonable. If I remember right, it was $100 and something a month. So
healthcare is excellent. It's like in the top 12 globally as far as like safe communities and safety. It's in the top 2. I think it's number 2 of the safest places, considered the safest places in the world to live. It's clean. The healthcare also, now I'll let you know that I don't have all the details on this, but you have to have international healthcare when you first move there. And that's going to be more expensive because that's going to be not government subsidized Portuguese healthcare, because you have to live there for a period of time before you get into their system. And so you're going to realize your first 6 months, you're going to have a little bit greater expenses. But then once you're there and once you're into the system and you get through the bureaucracy, which they are known to have immense bureaucracy, that once you get in and you get to have that Portuguese healthcare, yeah, the cost is super, super reasonable.
Yeah, the other thing that I saw and that I read was that they also they're a country that doesn't double tax you. So what I mean by that is the US taxes us and some other countries also tax you. So you have to look at what countries aren't going to tax you a second time on your income and investments. So you want to be very careful, because the last thing I would think you'd want is 2 countries now taxing you.
True.
I don't know that there's any benefit to it, other than unless you can figure out the cost of living otherwise. But Portugal, I believe, does not tax you a second time.
They've made some changes to their expat tax program this last year, but it's still like really phenomenal for the first 10 years. And then after 10 years, they tax you like a Portuguese citizen. So there is that time frame that you get a real bonus.
Awesome. Sounds like you've spent some time there too, Irene, huh?
I haven't, it's been a long time. I was a child the last time I was in Portugal. We're waiting for the borders to open up so that we can go and really double check that where we want to live there. But we're both so easygoing, and that we're like, we could live pretty much anywhere. So.
Were you, who was on the call last week when Julio and his was doing his presentation there on, I think Julio's on here, aren't you, Julio? Nope, he left us. Anyway, we were talking about Mexico last week. Were you on at that point, Irene? No, okay. So this is our goal, is to kind of bring different countries into the realm for us to talk about and for us to explore. And I recently received an invitation from a gentleman. His first name is Oliver. I'm looking for the last name, but he's with eXp also and has a global eXp real estate program. Are any of you familiar with that?
I am.
And who's that talking?
My name's Dinami. I'm on here.
Okay.
Only been on a couple of.
Okay. Well, you want to tell us a little bit about what you know about it?
Sure. So I actually recently partnered up with an agent in Mexico. who's working very heavily and closely with some really amazing developers out there. And I mean, I have an actual meeting with the CEO of a company in about 2 hours today. But our last meeting, we were talking about how do we strategize to bring all the benefits in the presentation to the senior community in the United States. The market that I'm in, particularly in the Midwest, is not an ideal place to retire because of the cold weather and just there's not so much to do here, you know, in many senses. So we're working on presenting these developments. They're basically, we have a few options. There's some that you can rent like a timeshare when you can just go, you know, there, whatever time of year you'd like, have everything set up for you, taken care of. Or there's another option where it's much cheaper to just purchase a property out there. And we're getting all of the presentations as far as, you know, the legalities and residential status visas. But it's very exciting. Again, I have a meeting today and another one with another developer, but the same agent from eXp next Wednesday. But we're trying to concentrate again on more of a retirement, just basically a type of lifestyle that makes things easy for you. Whereas in contrast to Portugal, yes, you might be able to buy some properties out there at a good price, but maybe there might be like fixing up to do, or even in other countries, you want something that's ready, set. You don't want to be working on, you know, remodeling or buying furniture or setting up stuff that into a lot. So, but I've been working on recently.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. And Oliver's last name is Melvillec, Mevellec, and I posted in the chat I will post in the chat his name and the link to the global real estate group. And you're part of that, is what you're saying, Dynamic.
I'm part of the Mexico group.
Okay, but not particularly this Oliver's group.
No, not at all.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to add to our conversation here this morning? We're all so quiet.
Thank you, Teresa, for helping us out here.
Yeah, Heather, where are you? You're waltzing around in Florida there, aren't you?
I'm senior living in California and Florida. That's where it's at.
Yeah, and you always have some statistics to shout out. You got one on your mind this morning?
Well, you know, statistics for this are the same everywhere. Senior living is where it's at. You know, it is exploding, and we just have to figure out how to market to it. And I really like that this venture that the person that just spoke last about partnering up, because last week this was exactly what we spoke about with Mexico and the area of, what was it, Playa? Where were they out of?
They were out of the Cancun area,
yes,
Riviera.
Right, and it was exactly what she was saying, where things are done for you. So when you get there and you're in a foreign country, you've got everything already ready for you. You know, so you can hit the ground running, doing whatever you wanted to do, and you don't have to worry about finding somebody to do electrical work, or, you know, hiring somebody to move your stuff in, or, you know, wondering if you're able to, you know, if there's a barrier, especially if it's a language barrier, it would be difficult to move. And the healthcare, Donald's spot on. Everything I listen to, every senior podcast, healthcare is a major concern of people when they go to move anywhere, any state, any city, any country. So It's a big deal. And Portugal, by the way, on a lot of these senior talks, Portugal happens to be a model for what US should be doing. They're one of they've got some stuff that they've been doing for a very long time that, you know, they've got it. We just don't have it here yet.
Well, guess what? Dora?
What?
Looks like Dora Fernandez has popped in here. Good morning, Dora. We've been chatting around and we're glad to see you made it here. I'll let you introduce yourself.
I'm so sorry, but I thought the meeting was at 10 o'clock. We are 8 hours from there, so
Oh,
We
it's a
scheduled
10,
for 6 p.m. here.
yeah, it's 10 o'clock our time, Pacific
Are
time.
we late? Yes.
Go ahead.
So we are late. Is that it?
We are, yeah, we are in the meeting now.
Okay. Let me. I'm so sorry. Let me
That's
call
okay.
Luis. Okay, we're going to
Okay.
just start. Okay.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. Note to self, we have to clarify the time differences across the country now.
Daylight savings. That's what, because it was just recently, it just messed it up.
Yeah, so we learn as we go. That's, give ourselves grace for these things that we don't always have on top of. I appreciate you guys and your patience here.
Well, and that's the thing we need to think about when we have Australia. Pretty soon, we're going to have Hong Kong and Italy and many other countries. So that will be very exciting to have.
Yes, and that you know, we may have to adjust some ourselves for the time that we have it, right, to maybe do it in the evening.
Yeah, correct.
So we got somebody here that's needs to be muted. I'm not sure. Yeah, okay, is that better? Dora, go ahead when you like and introduce yourself.
Okay,
Dora and
I'm
I
just
met on
waiting for
Workplace.
Luis.
Okay, all right. Well, Dora and I met on, or Dawn, and actually you reached out to her too, didn't you? Because you had an interest in Portugal for your personal reasons. And Dora
Absolutely.
happened to be in our wonderful Workplace network. I just can't say enough about Workplace and how awesome it is, and being able to communicate on so many topics. If you're not in there, you should be in there. And you know, answers come quickly when you have a question about anything. And, you know, here we are connecting all over the place. So thanks, Dora, for adjusting to our.
I'm really sorry for the late, because I'm standing here waiting for the 6 o'clock p.m. here. Because all the formations I had from the eXp world is 8 hours of difference. So 10 for you a.m. is 18 for me p.m. So
yeah. Well, and we just did a spring forward in our time blocking, I guess.
And now I'll go to the Workplace and I see your post. We start now. 30 minutes ago, what?
It's like, yikes, what happened here?
But Luis is entering now.
Okay.
Oh.
There
So
he is.
thank you all for being here. I'm Dora. This is Luis Valdaca. We are here going to talk about our country, Portugal, that we love so much. And I want to tell you why you should tell your clients that they need to live and to invest in Portugal. So Teresa, if you can give me the power to share our presentation.
Don, are you on that? Can you? Or do I have the ability?
Yeah, it's shared.
Okay, go ahead and share, Dora.
You can take it over.
Okay. That's me.
Looks beautiful to start.
Let me see how can I do this, because I'm not seeing the presentation. You are seeing my presentation with the sunset, right?
Yes, we are.
Is it a video?
No, it's a PowerPoint.
Oh, okay.
But it has videos also.
Okay. You should just be able to work it just like it was on your computer once it takes it over.
Now I have the PowerPoint.
There you go.
Okay.
There you go. Very good.
Before it was just a picture. So I'm going to start the presentation. Okay. So here you are in Portugal. This photo, just for you to know, is from Porto. Me and Luis, we are from Porto. Is in the north of Portugal. Okay. So let's start. So we're going to, I don't know how many of you know Portugal or have you been to Portugal. So I'm going to give you a glimpse of the country, its cost of living, and the mechanisms that we have at your disposal. So you can show to your clients how and help them to decide to live or invest in Portugal, okay? So about me, let's meet the team. I'm a civil engineer with more than 20 years of experience in project management, in construction, in real estate projects. And Luis is going to speak now.
Yes, hello to all. I'm sorry about the hour delay. We missed the Pacific time hour, so we entered quite late. So I'm really sorry, and thank you for your invitation to us to present today. I'm a civil engineer, and I'm working in this sector for 20 years. First 7 years as a construction director, and now in the last 30 years, sorry, I was broker, and now I'm been agent for the last 8 years. In the last few years, I received several performance awards here in Portugal, and I have a lot of training in this area. So I'm very glad for this presentation and for this opportunity.
Let's continue. So Portugal is the most western country in Europe. Okay, do you see it? It's one of the oldest nations that became independent in the 12th century. It's a very small country compared to the United States. There is nothing. We are over 10 million people, so we are very small considering comparing to our country. Our capital is Lisbon. Our official language is Portuguese, like the Brazil also speaks Portuguese. Our currency is euro. And today we are going to talk about 3 regions, main regions. Porto here in the north, Lisbon here in the center, is the capital, and Algarve region in the south, okay? So first I want to show you this video about the life and the country that we are. Tell me if you are going to, you're seeing well and listen, please.
In an increasingly globalized world, how does a country stand out?
Sorry, I didn't hear, Teresa. It's okay?
Yeah, it was good.
Yes, it's
Clean,
okay.
Very
Yes,
clear.
we can hear very clear, very
clear.
This is a country made of land and sea, a crossroad between the Mediterranean and the Atlantic, a link between cultures and continents. This is the homeland of talented people, a founding member of the Euro, a gateway to a market of 500 million people. This is the home of a world leader in fast and ultra-fast chargers for electric vehicles, a country that produces more than half of its energy out of renewable sources, a privileged partner for innovation. Every day, more and more companies come to work and think with us. We also produce cars, but above all, we think cars. Think the green road ahead of us, and think the future. Innovation is taking the country to new frontiers. This is the world's biggest cork producer, transforming cork for the most traditional and revolutionary uses. From the top of the most precious wine bottles in the world to thermal shields and rockets and spaceships destined for space. This is a leading tourist destination in the world. A competitive and sustainable location. A top country in providing technological services. host of great international events, integrated in some of the most important value chains in the world, that attracts and keeps some of the most talented people. So how does a country stand out in an increasingly globalized world? Well, I guess it's by welcoming the world and bridging cultures. Portugal, talented and welcoming.
So what we wanted to show to you is that Portugal shares its history, but is also open to the future and strives for innovation. So we're going to speak now for the advantages of living in Portugal. Why should you live in Portugal? First of all, security. This is a very peaceful and quiet country. In 2019, he occupies in third place of safest country of the Global Peace Index. So many people come here to live just for this one condition. Quality of life. You can access here to good education, to the adequate health conditions, security, infrastructures. We are always in the top 20 of the world best quality of life index. Okay, so if you later you want this presentation or the links, I can give it to you. Portuguese are welcoming people. We are known for our sympathy and hospitality of the Portuguese. Is part of our identity. So if you come here, you'll know that everybody is also helpful to the citizens that are not from here. Gastronomy. I don't know if you already heard about it in Portugal. We are a small country, but we have a diversified cuisine in different regions, and it's very good. And you have olive oils and excellent wines, red and whites, and you all must know the Porto, the liquor. So you have a really nice gastronomy. A naval landscape, we have the mountains in the north and center of the country. We have the golden beach of the Algarve, and we have the plains of the Alentejo. So it's very diversified, our landscape. So you can have, in a small country, you can go from the beach to the mountain, to the snow in the winter, of course, to the don't know if you already saw the pictures of the valleys of the Rio Douro, the river Douro. Is beautiful. Let's talk more about the cost of living, because this is a factor, this important factor for someone who thinks or considers to live in Portugal. The houses. The price of houses is increasing. However, buying a house or renting a house in Lisbon or Porto is still cheaper than in other major European cities. Transportation. We have public transportation is all interconnected with train, subway, plane. You can go from Oporto to Lisbon in 2.5 hours. So you are very, it's what I was saying before, this is a very small country for your standards. Food, cost of the food. On a family with 2.5 persons, so a couple with a small child, spends an average of 237 euros per month on groceries in supermarkets. Also, you can go to a restaurant in Porto, in Lisbon, you have the lunch, the economic lunch for 10 euros, but also you have lots of restaurants and you can go 20 euros per person or more, okay? It depends. We have, concerning to health, they have a national health service developed and managed by the state, ensures access to all residents in Portuguese territory with minimum payment, okay? This is an advantage. You also have the private clinicals, but you can go to an hospital if you are here the resident or not, a tourist also. But you can, if you want to another service, you can go over to the private clinics. Education. The public education network is free and universal. If you prefer a private school, you can have several here. in Porto, in Lisbon, and in all of the country, he can go by 500 euros per month. Culture is not expensive. A ticket to movie ticket costs here 7 euros, and a season ticket to the opera at São Carlos annual can cost to 327. You have beach and countryside, so if you can go, you have more than 200 days of sunshine, so you can go to the beach and you can go walk for the mountains or bike riding. You don't pay anything for that. Plane. Traveling by plane from Portugal is easy and cheap. The country is within flying distance from 1 to 3 hours from a large number of European cities. We are talking about traveling from Portugal to Europe. The hotels, besides being modern and comfortable, Portuguese hotels compete on price with those offered within other countries. However, if you leave Lisbon or Porto Algarve, the value is greatly reduced. I'll show it to you. I'm sorry, Sarah, I'm speaking a little fast, but while you are late, so you're going to speed up a little thing. Now we're going to, I'll show you why Portugal is a great place to live, but I want to show you if Portugal is also a great place to invest, okay? So let me show you this video now.
Everybody knows about the 2008 recession and the profound impact that it had on Europe. Lisbon and Portugal suffered as much as anybody, but this is one of the standout countries that have bounced back incredibly well over the last 10 years. Today I'm in Lisbon, one of the oldest cities in Europe, and going through incredible economic change, particularly in the property market. The population of Lisbon is 2.83 million, and by 2025 that will have risen to 3 million. As you know, in IP Global, we love young populations in these cities that really drive up the economy and the housing requirements. Economically, Lisbon is extremely important to Portugal. 3 million people came here last year and contributed 14 billion euros of revenue to the economy. Beyond that, 45% of GDP for the whole nation is generated here in Lisbon, and 29% of the working population of the whole country live in this one city. It seems in this day and age, for a city to really make it, it needs to invest heavily on digital. We've seen it in London, we've seen it in Berlin, and IP Global's invested a lot in those cities because of digital enterprise and driving up revenue into this new gig economy that we're seeing around the world. Lisbon is absolutely no exception to that. With over 300 million of revenue in the last 5 years in the digital economy and 400 new startups, you can see they're really driving into the future.
Portugal investment has started more or less in 2012 when the Golden Visas project started. And investments and investors started to come to Portugal because they could obtain Portuguese citizenship for him and their families. After that, mainly since 2018, investment has bloomed, mainly because of social life and cultural life. Google's in Portugal, startups are blooming, and so real estate investment is the way to invest.
Portugal has foreigner-friendly mortgages with 60 to 80% loan to value, and at the moment 2% variable interest rates, one of the cheapest mortgage markets in Europe. That's driven 150,000 property transactions in 2018 alone in Lisbon. When we first came to Lisbon to look at real estate 12, 18 months ago and started investigating the market, it was obvious this place was on the rise, but people started talking to us about Porto, the second city of Portugal, home to 1.3 million people. We started looking at Porto as well, and the property story there is really quite interesting. Porto is very famous for tourism, of course, for sport, for football, as everybody knows. But with manufacturing and exports, and looking at the success the property market's had in Lisbon, a lot of money now is finding its way into the Porto market because of 50, 60, 70% cheaper than properties in Lisbon. With over €500 million invested in infrastructure, in the new metro line between Lisbon and Porto, you're going to see a lot more inward investment into real estate in the next few years in Porto.
So you can see the Portugal is really promising to invest. So we're going to talk about the mechanisms that you have here in Portugal for the citizens from other countries. I don't know if you already heard about the Golden Visa. Golden Visa is a program that gives you and your family access to live in Portugal with free movement to Schengen area. This is about 26 countries here in Europe. What you have to do is to invest in real estate in Portugal. The most common is this one, to purchase a real estate of 500,000 euros in Porto or Lisbon. If there is another area of low population, goes to 400. There are some more ways to invest. The benefits: entering Portugal without a residency visa, living and working in Portugal, being able to maintain another residence in another country, free movement from through 26 European countries belonging to Schengen area without the need of a visa, access to public and private schools, to national health system, to justice, to courts, benefiting from equal treatment to national citizens by social security, and to the tax benefits provided by law for Portuguese citizens. Access permanent residence after 5 years, access Portuguese nationality after 6 years. You don't have taxes for inheritance and no wealth taxes. Here are the costs and the required documentation. There's no need to read. If you want some more information, we can provide that to you, okay? Another program that I want to talk to you is this non-habitual residence regime in Portugal. It's a tax regime. Along the Golden Visa was a civil program. This is a tax program. It doesn't require investment to make. So you can come to Portugal to work, and this establish how the taxes from your incomes for the Portugal or the origin in Portugal or the origin in your country. Okay, this regime is applicable for 10 years. What can I say to you about this? This is the requirements to obtain this regime. And I can say that if you have income from Portuguese source, this is the taxation in Portugal, okay? For the income outside our country, meanwhile, meaning US, we have treaties with the United States to avoid double taxation. But this requires an analysis from a tax specialist, okay? Because it's not direct. It depends on the incomes, what kind of income it is, and so is required this analysis. It can be no minimum investment amount required, applicable regardless of the nationality of the citizen. So it's something you can be combined with civil residence programs like Golden Visa and startups and retirees and self-income. So it's a program that is interesting for new citizens here in Portugal. So now, we are talking about the 3 regions, as I said earlier. Let me start with Lisbon. You know, Lisbon is the capital. You have here Lisbon in the center city, very beautiful city, okay? Then I want to let you know the Cascais. Cascais is very ancient, also has beautiful real estate. And Sintra is here, it's a beautiful treasure. You need to go there to see the palace and the hidden treasure that there is in Sintra. Let me show you just what you can see here in Lisbon, please. select here in the next slide some of properties we have here in eXp Portugal, with a table, with a chart with the average price of the square meter here in the premium areas of Lisbon. Okay, so you can see this is all new. This is price for new construction apartments, except for the last one is villas. But you can see from the 6,000 euros to 10,000 euros for square meter is the price to pay here in Lisbon. I get here 3 properties. I don't know if you want to show to watch them. I can go to the site if you want to go in and see what you have here. There's no need for that. Okay. Let's talk about Porto. This is only the city of Porto. Okay. You have here the Ribeira with the first picture is the more historical center, this area. Then we have nearby the river. This is Douro River. You can, when the river meets the ocean, okay, you have the Foz do Douro, the Vogilde, e aqui we have the Parque of Cidade, que is the biggest city park of the country. Let me show you a movie with Porto and north of Portugal, so you can take a watch. I love Porto. It's my city. I was born and raised here, so it's a beautiful, beautiful one. So same thing as Lisbon, we have here 2 properties, 2 apartments and 1 villa. So you can see the average price is a lot cheaper than Lisbon. Okay, that's what it was said in the video. It is what it is, but Lisbon is capital. Okay, so you can buy here from 4,000 to 5,500 euros for square meter. So let's go to Algarve. This is a destination that many people likes to live and to retire to because of the warm climate and the beautiful sandy beaches that are there. I have here 3 locations premium. This is one is Quinta do Lago. Here, Val do Lobo, Vila Moura. Quinta do Lago, Val do Lobo is also the top of the class golf courses for golf lovers. They are always all the year in the practice. Run one more video. This last one. So another example of 3 properties here. I don't put the price because I have the link to the eXp Portugal, but you can see the prices here from villas, okay, from 6,000-7,000 to 8,000. We are talking about new properties in premium areas, okay, and the apartments from 3,000 euros per square meter to in Dunas Douradas 8,000. Here is commercial investments. I'm going to let Luis talk about this.
All right. Well, in commercial investments, we prepare some comparisons between Lisbon and other capitals of other European countries, Berlin, Madrid, Paris, and London. I will propose that we see the next slide because I think we can see a little bit more explicitly the difference between Portugal and the other countries. Normally, Portugal pays a little bit more yield in commercial investments, and Lisbon is the most the least profitable. Porto is normally half percent till 1% more in these areas. So we can see that prime office in Lisbon pays more or less 4% of yield. Comparing, for instance, with Paris that pays less than 3% yield. The street shops pays in prime locations like Chiado pays 4.25%. Industrial properties pays very near of 6% yield. Shopping centers 5.25%. And logistics pays more than 6% of yield. So it depends on the risk amount. So Porto, as it is a smaller city, is a little bit more risky, so it pays a little bit better than Lisbon.
Okay, and that's ends our presentation. You have our contacts here, and so we are open for your questions. And so, go ahead.
One of the questions was about the exchange rate and how much US dollars.
Today, $1 equals 0.85 euro.
Okay.
Now I'm seeing it.
And I had a question about so the housing is sold by meters. So is that through
1 square meter equals 10 square feet?
Okay.
More or less. Okay.
Okay.
You have all your properties in square feet. Is that it?
Yes.
Okay. Now we have all square meters.
How hard is it to get a real estate license there?
A real estate license to buy?
To work.
Louise, you're talking. We can't hear you.
You don't, please.
You don't need a license?
To real estate to do?
No. To be an agent, you don't need a license. To have an office, to be a broker, yes, you need a license. So in eXp, we don't need a license to work here. And Dora, someone is asking if you can share the contacts again. Right?
Okay.
So,
this is not recording. This not you are recording. Okay.
Yes.
I see it. Let me put it again.
yes. And if you can, we will share. I don't
the
know
presentations if you want.
who is better, but we will share it, the presentation, so you can see all the information. All right.
Yes. If you can share your PowerPoint with me, then
I'll
will
send to you.
I'll post it in our files and send it out to our group also.
Okay. It's a deal.
Yeah. And if we had, is there an actual mailing address? If we wanted to send you a
yes,
note
this is it.
or something?
You have this is contacts of the workplace. So if you look for my name or for Luis, this is my phone number already with the indicative of the country and my email, the eXp Portugal email.
Okay. That is amazing. A great presentation. Thank you. Does everybody else agree? We can do a little wave and
Totally agree. Great presentation.
yeah, it was awesome, you guys. You certainly made up for time lost also, so no worries there. And we're just really
so
glad to have this connection with you. So anybody else have other questions that we can address here before we sign off today?
So I've got a question about the length of a real estate transaction from the time you find a house to the time you're able to close and move in, and some of that process. I personally, with my husband, we're looking to move to Portugal in the next year to 2 year time frame. And just as we're putting it all together, would love to know a little bit more about some of that process.
If you want to speak, Luis, but it depends on the real estate you buy. If it's complete, ready to. But go ahead.
I will explain. If you don't have credit, if you don't finance the purpose, to buy a house, normally 30 days is enough, all right, for the full amount of the process to buy it. And if you have finance, normally 90 days, it's enough. Usually, the Portuguese people takes more or less between 6 to 9 months in average to look for the new home. All right.
And then, as a buyer, what % fees should we expect for our closing costs?
Well, usually I would say more or less between 6 and 7%. All right. It depends on the amount that you are going to buy it. All right. But in higher prices, I would say in higher amounts, higher than 350,000 euros. I would say more or less 7%. It would be usual, all right?
And then we have an idea of the region we are looking. We're not looking for, we're looking Silver Coast area, and we're not necessarily looking in any one particular city. You mentioned that it would plan on having it take quite a while to find the house. Do you guys work with and have agents that work in that area that can cover more than, like here, people have a tendency to focus on one area, one small area, but on a broader area, how do you plan on having patience or what? Or plan on having patience and?
Sorry, all right. I would say that the process is more or less the same as you probably have there. So we will need to understand the needs, all right? And then for us, it's very, very easy to deliver that, all right? So Dora didn't told you, but Dora lived several years in Lisbon and several years here in Oporto. I only lived here several years in Oporto, and we both usually and frequently goes to Algarve to in vacation, all right? So
it's a small country, so
yes, so it depends on what you want, all right, and what you like more or what you are looking for. So I would say that usually we need to understand what we are looking for, and then we look for a region, and then we show some properties. We visit the best ones, and
the area that you are looking for, the Silver Costa, like you said, is below Porto, so it's very, very, very close to us.
So is there a process that you, or systems that you have set up for sending clients your way? So in terms of, we're not going to be able to go with our client there. And the idea here is that we get some referrals going your direction. Do you have a process that you'll enter into with us regarding that? And how does that work?
Can you speak, Luis, or want me?
I can speak, but what we need is to understand if you are going to send usual customers, clients that you have, all right, so that you already know them well and you know their expectations, and probably you can help in the final closing of deals, or if you are going to send a contact and we contact with them, we qualify them, and then we follow them till Dubai. So this is one question that we couldn't answer, all right? In terms of referral, yes, it's usual. So Nora, can you explain what you were thinking about this?
The normal rate for referral is 25%, but if you have you can negotiate. If you have a client that you have for several years and you know well the client, you can help us with the closer, maybe you can talk a little more, going to 40% maybe. Something to talk about in a special case, in each case.
In each case, yeah, okay.
The best case is to understand what the client wants and make a non-exclusive contract with them, all right, so that we can work in all markets. That in these cases is very important, and not only in eXp properties. So it would be better so that we have a document that doesn't totally guide, but open us a lot of doors. And in terms of fee of that contract, if we present and finish the deal, if it normally it gives 3% of fee in that buying representation contract.
So in that way, it's similar to what we experience here, I think, then in that regard. So, well, very good. That was awesome. Thank you so much, Dora and Luis.
Thank you.
I love those videos. I'm just in love now.
No, Portugal, maybe even if you don't come here to live, please come visit, because it's a really nice country and you're going to fall in love with it.
Yeah, well, and now we know people that we can count on to direct us in the right direction, right?
Yes, you can count on us.
All right, that's great. Any final call out here now to the rest of the group for any final questions? Otherwise, I think we're going to sign off and say goodbye. We managed to just go over about 15 minutes, so all good. And we now have a recording of the presentation so we can share it with the rest of our group as well. So
I'll send the PDF of presentation for you. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Let me thank you for your invitation. And thank you for your understanding that for us, the time clock,
so sorry.
We are not so very synchronized with Pacific time. So we're really sorry. We were waiting and we were prepared to entering at 6 o'clock here. So 1 hour late. So thank you very much for your callings and for your understanding.
Yeah, no worries. It all worked out great. So
thank you.
Stuff happens, I guess. And there we adjusted. So we'll sign off. Say goodbye, everyone. See you next Friday.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everybody,
Thank you
for coming.
Thank you.